Tell me, what is it that you want to talk about?
Nothing, today again, I kind of, out of nowhere, this whole anger burst came out, and
Okay.
it just threw me off, like, totally. I have no idea from where it came. And I mean, Brian said something, and then that one thing, I think it was basically this friend of mine, like months
Mm,
ago, I met her, and she had told me like she's also a counselor and she's a trainer. So I wanted to talk to her about certain things, and she had
mm,
no time. So I spent the
mm,
entire day with her. I kind of helped her out in her workshop and all that, and then after that I wanted to talk to her, but she had no time and she was too tired. So I said, okay, let's do this
mm,
another day. And then never got the time to call me back. And so I kind of held that as a grudge, that she just didn't have the time to even speak to me. And then
mm,
I forgot about it. I said, okay, let it be. It's fine. And I
mm.
thought, that I've forgotten about it. But somewhere I think there was a subconscious talk going on inside, which I never realized. And,
Mm,
that
mm.
subconscious talk, like today when Brian said that she's coming to his office to give a workshop, I don't know, I just blew up for no
Mm,
reason. That
mm,
maybe it was for the reason that I had held on to that grudge inside, and it came out on everyone. It came out on Brian, it came out on my maid, it came out on my dad, it came out on everyone. So it just gave me a real perspective that I think that forgiveness only comes when I am healed from inside. If I'm holding on to grudges, or if I haven't healed myself, I'll never be able to forgive someone for any wrong that they do.
Okay. So let me get this correctly. Like, you helped a certain counselor, a certain therapist with some workshop and things that she was doing. You spent a whole day investing your time and energy in doing that. And then you wanted to speak to her. Maybe you wanted to talk about something, right?
Yeah.
And she didn't have the time on that particular day, and she said that she will get back to you, and she never got back to you, and neither did you sort of follow it up, right? And then but something in you sort of, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
But something in you sort of held on to it, that you helped her, you were there for her, and then you needed her, you wanted to talk to her about whatever. Was it something informal, or was it like a counseling kind of a session? What was it?
No, informal, like just talking about my, career options and future and all of that.
Ah, okay.
That time when
So
I was
so
going
she
through.
didn't so she didn't have time at that time, and she said she'll get back to you, but she never got back to you, right?
Yeah.
And then you just kind of uh, held on to the fact that
Yeah, I
um
mean, I felt bad, and then I had certain expectations there, and then because she didn't meet them, I was upset.
so why didn't you just sort of, maybe she had forgotten or something, why didn't you just send her a reminder that, look, hey, there's something I wanted to talk to you about?
Yeah, I mean, I was just upset, so I just said, forget it. No, I don't want to talk. I, I just said, forget it. I mean,
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of, you know, right now there's a lot of pain inside that's really not healed. There's a lot of expectation. There's a lot of uh, I don't know how do I put it, pain of the past, and the pain trying to just find out who I truly am, because there's this constant battle going on, conflict going on inside me, of this
Hmm.
person who I am identifying as an angry person, and then there's this person who doesn't want to be angry, this person who wants to genuinely be good. and I don't have the intention, but I become angry, and then I hurt people, and there's this constant battle going on.
No, just let's slow down a bit. See, one is when you say there is the pain of wanting to find out who I truly am. Okay, let's be with that. And then you move on to saying that am I this angry person? And then there is this battle of not wanting to be angry. Mm, let's focus on this when you say that I'm having this pain of trying to find out who I truly am. What is it that you mean by that, or what do you refer by that, like who I truly am?
Like,
I mean, anger is one aspect to your personality, but is that all there is to it, or is there something more? What's the pain about?
just I
What's the
think the
struggle?
feelings,
What's the struggle?
like I just feel like I am, you know, I've not been able to understand my own self, like from my
Okay,
past,
so
from my childhood.
let's go further into it. So when you say I've not been able to understand my own self, and there's pain around it because of not being able to understand your own self, then what is this self that you talk about, and what's the pain around it? I'm just sort of trying to delve deeper into this and I really understand what this is.
I think it's got to do with my, the relationship that I shared with my mom, my dad.
Hmm. Okay.
It's it's not been the best, and I have a lot of guilt around it,
Okay.
especially after my mom passed away. It just got me into a black hole, and it just got me into too much guilt. And it took me a long time to, get past it. And
So what part of your own behavior you feel guilty about in relation to your mom and dad?
what part of?
Your own behavior, you're saying there's some element of guilt around it or there's lack of closure around it, then what is it
Yeah.
basically?
Just the same, like me always feeling that I'm not good enough. As a daughter, I haven't done enough. I didn't have the best relationship, not loving
So
enough.
what would make, yeah, okay. So what would make you feel that you were loving enough or you were a good enough daughter, or what is it?
I didn't understand. What are you asking?
Yeah, so you said that you're saying that, something makes you feel that you've not been a good enough daughter. So what makes you feel that you've not been a good enough daughter? I mean, that's the question, yeah.
I guess I've always been a rebel, and same, like this anger outbursts, my parents always trying to.
So you were a rebel in, like, you didn't listen to them in any particular area of your life, that they said that, okay, you do this, and you said, oh, no, I don't want to do this or something.
Yeah, like anything, like smallest things. I just never be. I never fit into, my family. Like the family things that my mom and dad wanted me to do, probably attend a wedding or anything like that. I was always run away from it.
And why didn't you want to do those things? Like,
I don't know. It just never excited me to do it. It never enticed me to just dress up and go for a
basically you were,
wedding. I just thought it's too much.
yeah, it is too much. What?
I just thought it's not worth it. You know, I didn't want to do it, so I didn't do it. And a lot of other things. Just these small things that always kept my mom anxious, worried about me, and
So basically, it's like it wasn't who you are. So like dressing up, going for a wedding, and fulfilling social obligations and all of that.
Yeah.
Um, so in a way, one could say you just stood up for what you felt was right for you, right?
Yeah.
And when you did
Yeah, but
that, you
I mean, and
disappointed them.
I guess, I mean, even when I was, uh, when I didn't get married to who I wanted to get, I mean, who my parents wanted me to get married to, and I rebelled. There's a lot of drama that happened, which caused a lot of family turmoil. And
Mm,
then I just thought, and then towards the end, when my mom was sick in the hospital and she wasn't well, and that's when I started feeling a lot of guilt that I was never there for her to support her, never spent enough time with her.
mm, okay. So, so I see one part of you which is like, which did things which were important for you on, or which were more you, so to speak, not what others wanted you to do. And yet at the same time, there is the feeling, especially when your mother was unwell and she was in the last moments, that feeling of guilt that I disappointed her, I didn't do. Okay. And then
Mm.
that's one of the pain about knowing who you truly are. That's one of the pain or the guilt associated
Mm.
with the past. So, is there anything else other than that about the pain of knowing who I truly am? Or is that the only thing which is like the disturbing thing?
Yeah, that's I think the main thing.
So then, is it a question of who I truly am, or is it a question of just having the guilt of disappointing your parents and not meeting their expectation? Because in a way you
Yeah.
knew who you are, because in the sense you knew what you felt, you knew what you wanted, you rebelled, you sought
Mm.
that. So there was no lack of clarity on that front, but it's just this feeling that I disappointed my parents and the guilt around that.
Yeah, and I always end up hating myself after this outburst. And I keep thinking, I'm hurting so many people in the bargain. I'm uh, giving so much misery to others around me, just because I don't know what I want.
Yeah, so where is, I mean, but what I'm not really able to get, or I'm not really able to identify when you say, I can understand that fine. You disappoint somebody because you don't meet their expectation. Maybe you hurt somebody because of your angry outburst. I understand that. But any in whatever you're saying, what I don't really get is you don't know what you want, because you know what you want. You are stating it and you're doing it. So where is the ambiguity of you not knowing what you want?
No, I mean, not what I want, but just like I'm not comfortable still with who I am. I'm not able to accept myself for what I am.
And what
And
is
I'm,
that? And what is that?
just this person who's, I don't know, just the one part is anger and the other part is not comfortable with being too social or having too many friends. And, there's this
Yeah,
kind of isolation.
but then that's what how you are, right? You're not a very social person and you just like to be with yourself, maybe engage with a few people, but you feel that you should be different.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I do feel the need to, have friends and just talk
Hmm.
and have a good family life. I'm not running away from that.
Hmm. Uh, so it's like, you have a certain ideal version of how you can be or how you should be, which is
Mm.
more social, more calm,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. So what do you want to explore more? This ideal version of you, or you want to explore this anger related to this situation? What would you want to, in which direction do you want to explore?
I don't know. I'm just confused today. I don't know. Like it's very hard to draw a line
Hmm.
because I think all of it is making me this angry person because I'm just trying to come to terms with who I am, and trying to probably seek
So in this,
validation
so
from
let's focus
people.
on this situation. Let's focus only on this situation. That you're saying the anger is coming because you're not coming to terms with who you are. So in this situation, what could have helped you to not feel angry? Let's focus on this situation rather than making it very
And
global.
like I really knew whether even while I was angry today, I knew why it's coming. I was very aware of that. Like I knew
Yes.
what triggered it.
So your anger was that somebody said, I'll get back to you, and then that person didn't get back to you.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, she's a
And
good
all,
friend, so I had a certain expectation, and then she
yeah,
never
you
came.
had a certain expectation and your expectation was not met, and which is essentially almost the cause of all kind of anger, that some expectation is not met.
Yeah,
Yeah. So in
yeah,
which
but
case, yeah, go on.
I don't understand. In the past, it's never really woke me up so much
Uh,
than this time. This time, I feel there's more pain inside me, which is unhealed. Maybe that's why I'm feeling more, more need, of someone calling me up, giving me the time. Maybe that's why, I'm just guessing. I don't know. Because I never felt like this before. Like with her, she's always been a person who's always been very busy, and I always understood that, and I
mm,
never really had a problem with it. But it was only this time that I don't know why it just hit me so bad, and maybe because I myself was going through uh, some pain inside, and I needed some help, and when she was not there, and so I guess it was more painful this time.
yeah. So you needed something and you felt that the other
Like just a
person,
support, yeah, just a
yeah,
support or
would
just someone to
respond
talk
with support, and then the other person didn't respond, didn't support. And there could be many reasons. Maybe she forgot about it.
to. Yeah,
Maybe whatever, one can't really say. But you didn't follow it up either. You didn't say that,
yeah.
okay,
I didn't follow it up out of my own ego, that
yeah,
why
maybe.
should I?
So that could be whatever the reason. And then when she was getting some work in your husband's company, then like that was your reason to flare up. So what was your flaring up? What was the anger about at that time?
I don't know. It was just that why is Brian giving her so much bhav, and she has no time for
Ah,
me?
that way. Correct.
Why is he going out of his way to help her so much? All of that
Mm,
rubbish happened, even though I know her from the last almost 15 years. She's a good friend, and I'm
mm.
really not the kind of person who would do that. But I don't know. Like lately, there's been so much turmoil inside me. Like there's so much conflict of just who I am. I'm trying too hard to prove to myself.
Yeah, so where is it coming from? I think so there is anger, fine. There is a feeling of guilt, fine. There's a feeling of disappointment, fine. There's a feeling that you're let down, fine. There's a feeling of irritation, fine. I mean, all these are feelings that
Mm.
almost, I think, various people feel at different point of time. We feel angry, we feel agitated, we feel let down, we feel confused, we feel
Yeah.
um, like breaking someone's neck, even though you don't do it. So these are all feelings. But how we deal with the feeling is the question of maturity. One way of the dealing with the feeling is you suppress the feeling and then you just try to act this holier than thou person. Another way of dealing with all these feelings is you burst out and you explode onto the other person and you blame the other person for how you're
Yeah.
feeling. So I think the question is whatever you're feeling, you're not able to accept it. You're always questioning it, that I should not be feeling this.
Yeah.
Are you getting what I'm saying? And then you're not able to sort of either express it, and neither are you able to sort of draw boundary around it in a mature manner, so to speak.
Mm.
You don't acknowledge the feeling that, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling agitated, I'm feeling let down, I'm feeling whatever.
Mm.
And then it comes out suddenly as an outburst, as an anger, as an unreasonable expectation, because what
Mm.
Brian's equation is with her is his equation, and that's a different thing, and what you experience is a different thing. So this inability to just accept what you're feeling, I think that's really really that's what it is. And maybe if you accept it and if you say that, "Okay, this is what I'm feeling," and given what I'm feeling, maybe the right thing for me to do is this. That kind of a conversation.
Mm.
Uh, I don't know. Are you getting what I'm trying to convey?
Yeah, like just acknowledging the, the feeling.
Acknowledging and accepting the feeling that it's a valid feeling. That's fine. This is how I'm feeling.
Mm.
And this feeling is coming out of my own need, which is being unmet. And now, given the fact that I have this feeling and the need is not being unmet, uh, now what is it that I can do? Now, what I can do is probably I can communicate to the person, look, this is how I'm feeling, and then see how the other person responds in that communication. Or
Mm.
after communication, I feel that the other person is not responsive, or the other person is not um, you know not changing their behavior in any way, or still meeting my need, then I can say, okay, fine, then you go your own way, I need to go my own way. And maybe this time I helped you, next time I don't want to help you. Maybe I want to maintain my distance from you, so draw some boundary. So, and that's it, that's where it ends. And then if something like, let's say something about uh, then something happens where this person is getting some business or work through somebody, you can communicate that, look, this is how I feel about her, or this is what which is communicating it in a manner which is, and sharing your feelings. I mean, it's just this ability to share your feelings in a mature manner rather than in a childish tantrumish manner. And I think that is happening because you're not accepting that you have a right to feel angry. You have a right to feel whatever you're feeling. You feel that I should not be feeling this. And that's why you tend to cover it up by, I need to forgive, I need to heal. These are all very broad, generic things. One doesn't even know what it means to forgive, what it means to heal. But I think the more important thing is this: if you can say that, it is okay for me to feel what I'm feeling right now. And why is it okay for me to feel what I'm feeling right now? Because the feeling is already there.
Yeah.
Are you getting what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if already the feeling is there, whatever may be the feeling, maybe guilt, maybe anger, maybe whatever, it's already there. So it is okay for me to feel it. I don't have to judge the feeling that, oh, I should not be feeling like this. I should feel love and I should forgive, I should heal. All this is all like spiritual bandage, spiritual bypass. Focus on what the feeling is, whatever the feeling is. It's not whether it is right or wrong, valid, invalid. It is the feeling. I accept it. Given what I'm feeling, now what do I feel like doing in the situation?
Mm.
Now, what can be done in the situation if you're feeling whatever you're feeling? Yeah, you can. Yeah, you there?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So you're saying I need to be okay with having that feeling and not trying to say that I shouldn't be.
Isn't it because simply because it's already there? No, I'm not saying that you should encourage it or you should indulge it. Neither am I saying you should resist it. But if a feeling is there, at least take note of what I'm feeling. No, because a feeling is there, whatever that feeling is, discomfort, anger, irritation, and there's a part of you which is saying, no, I don't want to be this. I want to feel something else. And that is where the confusion is about who am I? The pain of, because there is some feeling, and then there is another thought process which says, I should not feel this. But the feeling is already there. It is, matlab, aa gaya wo. Matlab, it's like a guest has already arrived in your home. Now the guest is there. So now you have to acknowledge that this guest has come to your home. You are saying, no, this guest should not be here right now. Fine, if you don't like the guest or whatever it may be, now you have a choice. You can deal with that situation in whatever manner you want. The difference is how you deal with it. But you have to acknowledge, no, now the guest is here. Now there's nothing that cannot be done about it. Rather than
Mm.
just simply say, no, this person should not be here right now. I'm just using that metaphor for a feeling. A feeling is
Mm.
already there. Now, what do you do about it?
But haven't I got the feeling because of some wrong thinking?
It's not relevant. It is not relevant. One can explore why the feeling is there, but
Oh.
it is important to acknowledge that the feeling is there. One can get into what is the cause of the feeling. One can explore that. And again, it's not a question of wrong thinking or right thinking. It is simply some need that is being not met. It's an emotional need that is not met. Do you get it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So are you saying that, I should have no emotional needs at all? Can any human being exist without any emotional needs?
No, I mean you can't, but you can't have,
Then,
I mean, those expectations then only backfire, right?
yeah, but can you live without expectations when you are engaging with other human beings? And can they also live without expectations when they're engaging with you, whether we acknowledge them or not?
Yeah, it's
when
quite
you're when
natural.
you're when you have friends, when you have family, when you have relatives, you do certain
Mm.
things, and then you feel that the other person will behave in a certain way which is acknowledges my values, my needs, respects me. Is
Yeah.
when I'm loving and kind to someone, that other person will also be loving and kind to me. When I'm supportive of someone, that other person will also support me. But if the
Yeah.
other person, I am supporting that person, and that other person, when my turn comes for support, that person tells me, look, I did this for you, I did that for you, and gives me a whole list of things, not acknowledging
Mm,
how I supported that person. And I'm sharing this from my own personal example also. Then you feel like,
mm,
अरे यार मैंने क्या इतना वो, that time there was no acknowledgement, nothing. And now when I needed some support, now this person is listing down the things that then you feel disappointed. No,
yeah,
isn't it normal to feel disappointed? And then to say that no, I should have no expectation. I should be like this Sadhu Mahatma.
mm,
I should, matlab, what? Why this ideal version that you have, that I should not feel this, I should not have any expectation, I should have no needs. When my needs are not being met, then I should not feel something. ये क्या चक्कर है?
right,
And also the other part of it comes like, supposing if you are meeting your needs, then you're disappointing no someone.
right,
You're not, when you are meeting your own needs, you're not meeting the expectation someone has of you, like in your case, your parents.
mm,
Correct?
yeah,
So then now what? Because the maturity is, at the end of the day, we are all trying to meet our needs, whether
mm,
we acknowledge it or not. We all have our needs, and when we are engaging with each other, these needs are being met, and that creates a nice, fruitful relationship, a human
mm,
relationship. Or the needs are not being met. Do you get it?
right,
When
yeah.
the needs are not being met, then what can you do? If there is maturity,
I mean, there will be a certain natural feeling that comes that, a disappointment out of a disappointment,
I get that
an
totally. So when
expectation.
needs are not being met, there'll be disappointment, there may be anger, there may be feeling of betrayal, there may be feeling of confusion or
Mm,
whatever. Now in that situation, what can you do? Which is perhaps the mature way of dealing with it. Now what do? You acknowledge it कि ये है, you know कि ये इसलिए है क्योंकि ये मेरी नीड मीट नहीं हुई, अभी मैं क्या कर सकती हूँ? So my question is, what can you do in that situation?
I can just, I mean, talk to the person, at least my feelings.
That's the first thing. Perfectly right. That's
Yeah.
the first thing you can do is you communicate to the person, yaar, ki bhai, this is how I'm feeling about this. And that also depends on the kind of relationship, friendship you have, whether the person has that maturity to have a conversation and whatever that may be. So the
Yeah.
first thing you can do is you can communicate. Look, quite often that the other person may not even know about it.
Yeah.
So you communicate to the person, look, hey, you said you'll get back to me, and sometimes you may need not even need to communicate your
Mm,
it could be something as simple as, I was waiting for you to get back to me, and then that maybe that person will say, oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot, I was so busy about it, or something. That could be one response.
mm,
So you can communicate, but if you don't even communicate, then you have no idea what is the reason. You're not taking the first step to really even understand the other person's perspective.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first thing that you can do is, first thing that you must do is, what is the first thing? Now I'm giving you a step by step approach. What's the first thing?
Communicate,
No, even before that,
acknowledge your own feeling.
acknowledge your own feeling. And acknowledgement means that
Acknowledgement
acknowledgement of the feeling means that it is,
means like it's there, I just have to accept that it's there.
it's it's okay to feel what I'm feeling.
Oh,
You're
right.
getting it?
Right.
There should not be this, oh, I should not feel like this. This is the biggest problem.
Mm. Yeah, true.
Acknowledgement means it's okay, I'm feeling this way.
Mm.
Okay, maybe the second step, now I'm breaking it down further. The first is acknowledgement, accepting what I'm feeling. It is okay for me to feel what I'm feeling. First step.
Yeah.
Second is what?
I mean, then I can then I can communicate better with the other person.
Okay, so even before you communicate, I'm breaking it down further. What would you want to figure out for yourself? Like, fine, there's a feeling of discomfort, there's a feeling of disappointment, there's a feeling of anger, there's a feeling of irritation, or wherever you feel that and sense that in your body while you're engaging and interacting with someone. Now, before
Hmm.
you even communicate, what would be the second step to find out what?
Um, I don't know what.
Because you can communicate clearly when you have clarity yourself. And what can bring about that clarity?
Mm, like, what is my expectation from this
Exact,
relationship?
exactly. Rather than more than expectation from the relationship, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? What need is being unmet?
Hmm.
What has happened? Rather than, making it global, what did the other person do? Or what is happening that is making me feel this way? Do you get that?
Yeah.
And then again, it is not about right and wrong. It is simply acknowledging that I have a certain need and that need is being unmet. It is my need. You take
Yeah.
responsibility for your need. Nobody else is responsible for fulfilling your need. Only you're responsible for fulfilling your need. But when you're relating to someone, if a need is being unmet, you're going to feel something. So it is good to understand or ask yourself, okay, what is creating this feeling? What is the need which is being unmet? Okay,
Yeah.
because then you have clarity. You're not like in this bundle of disappointment, anger, and you don't even know why you're feeling disappointment and anger.
Right.
Okay, so first step is you have to, what's the first
First,
step?
I I have to acknowledge, identify what I'm feeling, and acknowledge it. That this feeling is
Acknowledge it,
there.
which means you have to be okay with that. It's okay to
Feel
feel
it,
this.
however I feel.
Whatever you are feeling, it is perfectly okay to feel it. So there is no
Mm.
confusion. The confusion comes because you are not even saying that I should be okay. This is not okay for
Yeah.
me to feel. The second
Right.
step is, what is the cause of this feeling? What is the need which is being unmet? Trying to identify it, not like a global thing, but what happened, so that you are very specific about the behavior of the other person that is triggering this unmet need in you.
Mm.
So that you're not even sitting on more and more unmet needs. A lot of time what happens is people don't articulate and acknowledge these feelings, and they sit, and then like a
Mm.
pressure cooker and a volcano, they burst one day.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what happens. This is lack of emotional intelligence or maturity. So accept what you're feeling, acknowledge what you're feeling, understand why you're feeling what you're feeling. What is the emotional need which is unmet? Okay, now what is the third step?
I think once I understand, I can then discern, if I want to communicate that with the other person, or is it something that I can resolve it myself? Then,
Okay, very good. So you can even use your discernment. How
yeah,
much of this you want to communicate, how much of it you need to figure out and resolve stuff on your own. Hmm.
right.
Because that discernment also tells you what is the nature of my relationship. Now, supposing if you have a problem with the auto rickshaw guy, you're not going to get into deep conversation with him.
Yeah.
Uh, so you have to figure out, okay, is this a very deep relationship, whether it's a very long relationship, what's the kind of relationship, what's the nature of communication that is needed, is communication needed, or so that discernment process. Okay, अभी मेरे को क्या करना है इस situation में?
Mm.
Yeah. So, and because, see, even if you choose not to communicate, it is coming out of a conscious choice. Right now, I don't feel I want to communicate, as opposed to you just unconsciously not communicating. You're getting the difference?
Yeah. True.
So discern. Now, what do I want to do? So take a pause and ask yourself, what do I want to do? Do I want to communicate? How much do I want to communicate? In what manner do I want to communicate? Even like supposing if you communicate to this person, look, you said, I helped you, and then you said you will get back to me, and then you didn't get back to me, and I'm so disappointed with you. Now that's one kind of a communication,
Mm.
which is possible, which will put the other person on defensive.
Yeah.
You already made some judgments about the person. Another way of communication is, hey, I was waiting for you to get back. What happened? You getting what I'm saying? Which is a curious form of a communication.
Yeah.
Hmm. So even discerning not only w- what to communicate, when to communicate, also a little bit about how to communicate. As far as possible, don't try to make the other person defensive. Be curious about
Yeah.
figuring out ki kya hua bhaiya.
Mm.
Because also you realize that if I don't communicate, then I'm going to just keep sitting with this and I will not even know why this happened. At least let me know ki hua kya. Maybe there was some emergency at the person's place. I don't know what happened, but my story is only that I helped this person didn't support me. That's it. That's my story. But there may be more to the story. So let me just find out ki kya hai kya.
Yeah, but in this case, like I think I'm understanding why am I disappointed. The
Hmm.
disappointment is not because what she did. It's just
Hmm.
it's just the state of affairs that I am in. Internally. That's where this battle is going on, and then I'm blaming other people for it. I feel the battle
True.
is
So
really inside me.
so there is vulnerability because you need
Yeah, yeah,
help at this point of time, and because you're
yeah,
vulnerable,
true.
there is all the more reason that you feel that somebody should support me, somebody should help
Yeah,
me. Now, once you recognize that in the second stage, that look, this need that is being unmet, this feeling is coming out of my own vulnerability, because right now in my
yeah,
life
true.
I'm vulnerable, and that's hence I'm feeling this touchy and sensitive. Now,
Yeah,
what you can do in this situation, what would be the third step? You can figure out, maybe I just need to be with my vulnerability. That's it. Fine. She responded. She didn't respond. Let it be.
mm.
Or maybe
But
I
it's a
need to
very,
just,
my God, this it's a very difficult place to be in. It's very uncomfortable. It's just so hard.
yeah. So then that's what does one do when there are difficult feelings? Then one has to accept those difficult feelings, because uh, even if you communicate it's this is the whole part of relating as human beings, that your needs are not going to be met, and then you will feel vulnerable, and then you have
Mm.
to manage and deal with your vulnerability. That's it. That is part of maturity.
Um,
Will all our emotional needs be met by others? No. Will we meet
mm.
everyone's emotional needs? No. This is the reality. Welcome to the real world.
Yeah,
Either we communicate and figure out a little bit. At least I think initially it is good to communicate and check with what's happening with the other person. Maybe you communicate and the person says, no, oh, I'll get back to you, whatever. Now the other person again doesn't get back. Then you say, okay, bhad mein ja ab tu. Matlab, then you just deal with your
mm.
vulnerability. At least you took one step to communicate. So the third step is discerning, communicate, how much to communicate, when to communicate, what is the way you want to communicate. That could be the third step.
Mm.
What's the fourth step?
Then
Yeah.
I don't know.
First step would be actually communicate. Like third step, you're discerning whether you want to communicate,
Mm.
how much. Fourth step would be where you actually talk to the person. Maybe you send a message, maybe you share, maybe whatever, how much you
Mm.
want to communicate your feelings. Maybe you don't want to share your all that I'm feeling disappointing, I'm feeling vulnerable. You're just sharing that, look, you said you'd get back. I was just wondering what happened. And
Mm.
sometimes you don't have to put in the whole thing out there. You just need to So I think that could be the fourth step of actually communicating and figuring out what it is.
Mm.
Hmm. Let's say you communicate. Now, out of that communication, what are the possible two outcomes that can happen out of the communication?
Either she genuinely, gives me the reason why I didn't, or she gets
Yeah.
defensive.
Okay. So either she could get defensive. That defensiveness can also come of how you communicate. If you are going to judge her,
Yeah.
then there's a greater possibility. If you just ask her, hey, I was waiting for you to get back, what happened? Then that's the possibility of her getting defensive is less. Correct?
Right.
Yeah. So that defensiveness also determines is based on how you're going to communicate. So now either she simply says, "Oh, I forgot," and she gets back, and then you realize, "Ki, arey, she just forgot about it, or she got busy, or something about it." Or maybe she gets defensive, or whatever, or something else. Now, either you can have a positive outcome of the communication, or it could be like again your need is being unmet.
Mm.
You're continuing to feel the way you're feeling. Then what do you do? Okay, fourth step ho gaya, communication ho gaya. I'm almost like making this like a flow chart. So now what? If it's positive, fine, well and good, you move on. And if it's not, if the outcome is not positive, if it's still your need continues to be unmet, you continue to feel uncomfortable, then what do you do?
Mm.
Yeah. What would be the fifth step? Supposing you're relating to someone, you continue in spite of the communication, you're feeling not comfortable, you're feeling need is unmet, and then what do you do? Or maybe the behavior of the person continues to be in a manner which doesn't make you feel comfortable. Then what do you do? Yeah.
Then I just have to deal with it myself.
Yeah. So, but in relation to that person, then what do you do?
You can't keep that expectation then. You just have to let
Yes.
go.
You can't keep your expectation then, and then what? Do you bring about any change in your relating, or do you continue relating in the same manner?
There will be a change.
There will be
There
a
is.
change. Yes. So there will be a change, and then acknowledging and accepting that fact that, okay, because then you find your own balance. Then you don't need to forgive. This whole problem of forgiveness and healing comes because you are not able to accept your feeling, you are not able to communicate your feeling, and you're not able to bring about change in the relationship. If you're about to bring change in the relationship, so supposing if someone is not meeting a need, then you say, ठीक है फिर मैं मतलब it's like you're posting a letter, you're not getting any response back. So then there is this feeling ki I'm posting a letter, I'm not getting any response from the other person. I keep posting the letter, and I keep feeling disappointment and hurt and angry and all of that. And then I say, oh, I must not feel angry, and I should not feel hurt, and I should not feel like this. I have to work on my feelings, I have to forgive this person, I have to heal this person. Arey kuch nahi karna hai. Just stop posting the damn letter, because you're not getting any response from that. You get it?
Yeah, but then you know, sometimes it's the relationship has been such an old one and a deep one. You can't just cut off so
Yeah.
easily.
If it is definitely an old relationship, then it's not really so easy. But even
Yeah.
in an old relationship, if your needs are not being met, then at some point of time you have to bring change in the old relationship as well. It could be a relationship with your parents. You can't continue to have expectations keep hurt. You have to acknowledge and accept it at some point of time and let go.
But I mean, can you let go without letting go of the relationship?
There
I
is
mean,
no
that's quite
absolute
possible.
answer to it. Sometimes
Yeah.
you sometimes people let go of the relationship because it is too emotionally toxic. It is not possible to be in a relationship. You may not wish unwell for the other person, but to be in a
Mm.
relationship with that person, whoever that may be, that person may even be your parent. Sometimes that can be I mean, in some cases that can be very toxic. I can't relate with my parents because there's too much of history and baggage and past and all of that, and I have to get on with my life. I wish them well, but no, I want to maintain my sanity. Maybe you continue to relate, but the nature of the relationship changes. Maybe you choose how you want to relate.
Mm.
Maybe you communicate your thoughts and feelings, and the other person communicates that the thoughts and feelings, and the relationship moves to greater intimacy and trust, and a different kind of relationship evolves. There is no one way in which there is one answer to this. It could be this. It could be letting go. It could be maintaining distance. It could be changing the nature of the relationship through communication. Whatever.
Right.
There is no one answer to this. But change, yes, you have to somewhere bring change in that relationship to find your equilibrium.
Mm.
What's the word? You have to find your own balance. The balance, you are feeling imbalanced because
Yeah.
the relationship is in a certain way. So that relationship has to change in some form or the other to so for you to find your own peace of mind, for you to find your own peace, your balance of mind.
Mm.
And sometimes those closure does not always happen through communication, and you sit across and you cry your tears and the other person cries their tears. वो
Mm.
हमेशा नहीं होता. Sometimes you have to find closure in your own self. That's it. Sometimes the person is no longer alive. Now what do? You have to find your
Mm.
own closure. End that in your own self.
Yeah. I think for me, it's very hard to do that, that part.
Hmm.
And that's then I keep fighting inside.
In relation to who or what, it's very hard for you to do that.
I think with anyone and everyone. If it's a close relationship, then it becomes more difficult for me to have a closure. It's just somewhere it keeps coming up in some form or the other.
Like, give an example. Be specific. Then we can talk about it.
Like the same one, what happened today, because I had not probably communicated or just made peace with it myself, it came up.
Yeah,
And
and so it's good to ask yourself why you didn't communicate and why you didn't make peace with it yourself. Let's track back. What made you not find peace in yourself or communicate? What was the
yeah,
cause of it? Huh? What was the cause behind that?
I mean in this case, I did not communicate.
In this
I
case,
just
you did not communicate. And
yeah,
also, you need to maybe go backward. Why? What made you not communicate? Take one step back.
just
What made you not communicate?
just the disappointment that forget it.
Huh. So what was it? Disappointment, forget it. What does that mean basically? What did you do or what you did not do?
I expected her to call me, and if because she didn't, I didn't bother calling back. I was like, it's
Fine,
not.
because you didn't bother calling back. But basically, what really happened here? When she didn't call you back, what did you feel?
I felt ignored.
You felt
I felt
ignored, you felt
inadequate,
disappointed. Yeah.
disappointed, vulnerable.
Yeah. And then the immediate thing was, okay, let her go to hell or whatever it is. But
Yeah.
what would have enabled the communication perhaps?
I think that's what, as you said, just the acknowledgement of the feeling and having the discernment to, you know,
Exactly. There's a
whether I should or I shouldn't.
exactly. There is a short circuit happening.
Yeah.
The short circuit is that you're feeling something, you're not acknowledging what you're feeling, you're not even asking yourself, why am I feeling this? You're not even discerning now, what do I need to do with this? There's just a short circuit. You're feeling
Mm.
something, you're not even checking what you're feeling and saying, okay, bhad mein ja.
Yeah.
It's like you have not gone through the due diligence of these three steps: acknowledging what I'm feeling, checking in what am I feeling. Sometimes I still do that. I open a feeling chart to check what am I feeling.
Mm.
I really recommend you should do that. Once you're feeling, you're triggered something, open a feeling chart on the internet and you will identify words which will tell you why I'm feeling. I'm feeling
Yeah.
disappointment. I'm feeling ignored. I'm feeling invalidated. I'm feeling worthless. I'm feeling abandoned.
Mm.
I'm feeling rejected. Once you identify this, then you can also identify, why am I feeling this? Okay, because this person did this. And then the
Mm.
discernment can be, okay, now what do I need to do? Should I communicate? If so, in what manner can I communicate? Or do I just need to work on this myself because I'm feeling very vulnerable at this time, hence I'm feeling this? Or do I feel at least I should check with her why she didn't, so at least I get closure on this? So I
Mm.
sent her a message and I understand what happened. So I understand. And then if things are still not working out, then I say, okay, fine, no point in investing my time and emotions in this relationship. Then I just draw a boundary because I'm not feeling good in engaging with this person.
Mm.
Then you're going through the whole process.
Yeah.
And I'm putting this in a step by step way just because for the understanding purpose. But the more you gain maturity, then this whole step one, step two, step three, step four, step five happens organically and naturally. Mhm. You're, are you able to get some insight out of this
Yeah.
conversation?
Yeah. Yeah. Give me
Mhm.
a little more clarity.
Yeah. So the problem is, you're not acknowledging the feeling. You're not figuring out, why am I feeling this? You're not discerning whether I need to communicate, how much to communicate. You're actually not even communicating. And then you're not even choosing to see how I can manage this relationship and bring change in this relationship so I can find my own balance. You're not doing any of this. What's happening is you're feeling something, and then you're just forming a judgment about the person and then just being in that state of disappointment. And then when something gets triggered, then there's a outburst of anger around it.
Mm.
And then the feeling is, then once the anger comes, then the feeling is, oh, I need to work upon myself, I need to forgive, I need to heal. Then it goes into this very saintly kind of conversation. Whereas if you follow this mature way of dealing with your feelings and unmet needs in a relationship where you require to communicate, where you need require to change the relationship, set boundaries, then there is no need to forgive anyone. There is no need to heal yourself. You just need to follow the process. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me now, whatever you want to share, your thoughts, your feelings.
I think lately it's just been like that with a lot of people, it's not just one person.
Mm.
Maybe it's just the state I'm in internally, which is making me
Yeah.
very vulnerable. The smallest thing
Yeah.
anyone says or does, I feel
Yeah,
sad.
there's this feeling of rawness, there's feeling of this vulnerability, then just accept it. Accept the rawness, accept the vulnerability. वो है तो है, अभी क्या कर सकते हैं? Yeah,
It
ultimately at the
just
end,
makes me
yeah.
very sensitive, like sensitive to anyone, coming, touching any part of me. It just triggers,
Hmm.
smallest things.
Hmm.
Like I can feel that now more than ever before.
Hmm. Well, how does anyone touch that sensitive part of you? By saying something, by doing something, what?
Yeah, yeah, like even if they say something which they may not intend to, or I take it in a different way, and
Like what?
I think anything that even Brian tries to tell me,
Hmm.
I feel like I don't know. I don't know. I feel like he's not, he doesn't understand me. He doesn't have the
Like,
time.
like he tells you what? Like, what would be an example of he telling you something?
And he tells me, you what you are looking for in your yoga or whatever, you have to go and do it yourself. And somewhere, I'm looking for a support from him
Hmm.
to give me that time,
Hmm.
help me. And he doesn't have the time because of his work.
Hmm.
Then there is an expectation that's not met.
Hmm.
And then there's, that creates a lot of emotion in me, and even though he doesn't intend to.
Hmm.
So even that part is like very sensitive right now, that in, the yoga part, nothing is happening, and so many things going on in my head, but I'm not really putting it into
Hmm.
action.
Hmm.
And then I'm seeking help from Brian, and that's not happening. So, it's just all cooking up inside like a real khichdi, and
Hmm.
I don't even know who's right, who's wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very,
Sometimes I think it helps to journal your thoughts.
yeah.
Okay, right now, this is what my mind is feeling. This is what my mind is thinking. So it's otherwise, it becomes a very khichdi of feelings.
Yeah.
So especially, I think when stuff is happening, when there's rawness, there's vulnerability, there's emotions, there's feelings, there's disappointment, there's unmet needs, and all that. It's really like a cocktail and a khichdi. So sometimes just journaling your thoughts, like, okay, this is what the mind is feeling, this is what the mind is wanting, this is what the mind is thinking. Just getting that out there is helpful. Otherwise, you don't even
Yeah.
know what's cooking inside. It's like all, it's just a mass
Yeah.
of emotions. Mhm. And at the end of the day, I think the only thing that can really give us contentment is making peace with the isness of this moment. If we don't know how to make peace with the isness of this moment, we will always be discontent, because the mind will constantly project something, and the mind will constantly create a feeling of lack, of unworthiness, and it will continue doing that, and it will continue making me feel not good enough, not successful enough, not worthy enough, because it's the mind which is creating this thought and sensation, sensation, thought, thought, sensation, sensation, thought, thought, sensation. It's a loop. The only way to come out of the loop is to come into isness, come into presence, come into awareness. When I'm in presence, when there is no this person who has to be a successful yoga teacher, who needs to have X number of students, and who needs to earn a certain number of income. This is the story of the mind which is creating. Look, you are only going to be worthy when you do this. The wisdom of awareness is I can just be in this moment. There's completion. In this moment, there's nothing missing.
Right.
In this moment, there is no Varsha who is a yoga teacher. Nothing. It's silent. There's just this breath, this presence, the sensations, this life. Life is not complete or incomplete. Life simply is. Unless I don't get in touch with that, and I'm constantly identified with the thoughts and the mind, I will continue to feel I'm not good enough. And then, because I feel I'm not good enough, I feel raw, vulnerable, and then I project it onto other people and have expectations of the other people. And when those are not being met, then I feel more raw and disappointed and anger, and it's like a loop. But the what is the root of it? My identification with my story, that I need to be a successful XYZ. Only then I'm worthy enough. This is the root. And the way to get out of that is come into presence. In this moment, there is no, the story is gone. This mind is silent. There is just simply is. And yet, when I have to do something, I use my mind. I do whatever I have to do. But I don't keep repeating the story in my head, and this feeling of unsuccessfulness and unworthiness, and basing my worthiness only when certain things are done, achieved, happen. And that's an ongoing process. There's no end to this. Because even if something happens, then the mind will again project something into the future, that, oh, now this should happen for me to feel successful and worthy. Because the very nature of the mind is it always feels it's not good enough, that only when something happens, it will be good enough. When that happens, then again, now mind says, now something else has to happen, then I'll be good enough.
Yeah.
Because this part of the conversation that we are having is looking at the root of the problem. The earlier part was to do with the symptom, which is around you feeling some emotions, acknowledging it, communicating that, and whatever. But the root of the problem is because I am identified with the wrong notion of who I am, this yoga teacher who has to be successful, which is coming from identification of the mind. This is the root. And then me, the yoga teacher, will only feel fulfilled and worthy when I have certain conditions being met. How's your practice of awareness going?
Yeah, it's actually, yes, it's going well actually. Yesterday I had a good, good half an hour, maybe 20 minutes of a good, very calm practice after a long time. I was not feeling so restless, too many thoughts going on.
Mm. I
Today
think
again is
that's,
different.
yeah, I think that practice needs to be ongoing to get in touch with your
Yeah.
your natural essence. If you're not in touch with your natural essence, then you're in touch with your role and identity as me, the yoga teacher. And you are not me, the yoga teacher. That's the mind which is creating that identification.
True.
So you continue doing whatever needs to be done, but it should not be like the rawness is basically because you feel the mind is saying, look, you are a
I feel
yoga teacher.
unworthy. Really, I
Yeah,
feel that's
the
one
mind is
thing
saying,
which is
look, you are a yoga teacher and you are worthy enough only if you have X number of students and if you are making X number of money, then you are a worthy yoga teacher. And that is creating the pain and the rawness. That is
yeah,
the root of it.
that's the root. Yeah, but like, how do I get out of that? Because even though I understand,
Hmm.
it's so deep rooted that I'm not able to just get my way around it. You know? Not able to come out of that. That identification is very strong.
Yeah, and there's nothing that you can do to come out of it. Only thing you can do is to recognize that this is what the mind is creating. These are the thoughts that are getting created, and my identification with the thoughts is creating the pain. The only way I can come out of it is to disidentify myself with these thoughts and come into presence, into awareness. In this moment, when this mind is silent, there is no yoga teacher. This yoga teacher doesn't have to do anything to prove herself. What is there in this moment? Life. Is this life made up of this body and this mind and this breathing apparatus? Is this a yoga teacher? No, it is not a yoga teacher. It is just life. In a sense, who am I? I am this life. Breathing, sensing, feeling. This life expresses itself in different forms. This life maybe expresses itself through teaching yoga. Maybe this life expresses itself by doing some cooking. Maybe this life expresses itself by becoming a wife. Maybe this life expresses itself by becoming a daughter. Maybe this life expresses itself by becoming a friend. Maybe this life expresses itself by learning a musical instrument. It doesn't make this life a teacher, a daughter, a wife. It is just life expressing itself in different forms. And then the labels are coming later on. But when the mind gets attached to a particular label and bases its self worth on certain conditions being met, then that creates the pain. But in reality, what is there? In reality, there is only this life. So if I want to be free myself from this pain of identification with this role that the mind is very attached to, this yoga teacher, then I need to come back into presence, into awareness. And yet there are times when this life will do the things which a yoga teacher has to do, and that's fine. I do it. I can continue exploring options. I can continue looking for workshops. I can continue looking for opportunities. I can continue to reach out to more people, whatever. But that is not who I am. That is just one expression of my life. Who I am is, once I do all of that, I come back into presence, into awareness. Because in reality, this is who I am: presence, awareness. When I forget that I'm presence and awareness, then I get into my identification and then I start judging myself and my worth based on how good or bad so called I am as a yoga teacher, how successful I am or not as a yoga teacher. So the root of the problem is you forgetting your true self and getting identified with the mind. and a particular role that life is playing. You getting what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes, yeah, that when you say, you're just playing these roles,
Yeah.
just makes you feel like there's no point getting too attached to one particular role and identifying to it. It's only the
Yeah. And
identification that then gives you a lot of expectation and pain out of it. It's
yeah,
not
when
good.
you're too attached to your worthiness around a certain role, then that creates all the pain and the suffering, because then you don't meet your own the mind doesn't meet its own expectation of itself of that role. Oh, a daughter should be like this. Oh, yoga teacher should be like this. Oh, the mind has created its own identification and its own expectations. The only way is come back into presence to realize I am not a teacher, I'm not a daughter, I am life, I'm life, I'm life. Come back into awareness, come back into awareness, come back into awareness. Because no matter what you do, the mind will never create a situation where it will be 100% satisfied. It will always have something to crib about. That is the nature of the mind. It always sees what is missing. That is how the mind is. Even if you get 20 students and make 50,000 rupees a month, I can 100% assure you mind will find something missing in that situation too.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? So what's your takeaway from today's session?
I think the biggest takeaway is just not to identify too much with all these roles. Just keep coming back to presence. Keep
Hmm,
coming back to that I'm not all these roles and the name and the titles that I have. You know,
correct.
I'm just life expressing itself through these
Absolutely.
roles. That
Absolutely.
kind of brings you back to just a lot of tranquility.
Yeah. And as life, when the mind is silent, then there is nothing missing. There is tranquility, there's calmness, there's peace, there's
Mm.
oneness. Because life has no expectations of itself. Life is just fine
Yeah.
as it is. It's breathing, it's sensing. The mind then starts
Yeah.
identifying, oh, I am this so and so person, I have to do this. And only when this happens, then I'm good enough. And all these stories the mind creates. Otherwise, life has not told you anything that, oh, I'm missing, I'm incomplete. Nothing. I'm fine just the way it is right now in this present moment. So that's one. So
Keep
come back
coming
to
back to
life.
the
Okay. Anything else?
keep coming back to the core. Everything
Keep
else takes care of itself.
Yeah, this is the root of it. See, the other stuff is only because you forget your trueness, then everything
Yeah.
else, it's like a loop, it chain, like it one thing leads to the other and the other and then the other and then the other. But if you come back to the source, then
Yes,
the
yes.
possibility of that whole chain of events happening is lesser.
Yeah.
And even if it happens, fine, then look at it from a practical perspective. It's okay, I'm feeling something. It's coming because of my identification of the mind. It's coming fine. Let me acknowledge it. Let me accept it. Let me understand why is it coming? What's the need that because even one has to just because your life also doesn't mean you disregard the fact that there is a character and the character has certain needs.
Mm.
You need to balance both of them.
Right.
Are you with me?
Yeah.
So just don't say that, oh, this is only because the ego, mind. No, if there are feelings, if there are unmet needs, that is also, this is a relative reality and one needs to acknowledge
Yeah.
this. This life is an absolute reality. One has to manage both the relative reality of feelings, unmet needs, emotions, relationship, communication, drawing boundaries. And one has to also acknowledge this is finally not who I am. This is all the mind stuff and the relationship, but my trueness is absolute reality, which is life itself. Now, the problem comes when either people are not willing to acknowledge the relative reality, just only focusing on I'm life, I'm life. No. And then there leads to a lot of suppression and spiritual bypass. Or the other is people are only focused on the relative reality and just trying to find a solution in the relative, totally disacknowledging that the reality is absolute, which is life. One has to balance both these realities,
Mm.
both the absolute and the relative. Yes, I am the water and I'm also the wave. Both realities exist.
Mm.
Okay?
Yes.
Chalo. So should we end the session with a small prayer?
Yeah.
Chalo. If you want, you can close your eyes, join your palms in Namaste. My dear high self, help me to realize that my feelings, whatever I feel, are absolutely valid, are absolutely fine. Let me understand what is the cause of these feelings, what are the unmet needs, and try to communicate where needed in a manner that enhances trust in relationships. And where that's not possible, help me to draw boundaries or accept the fact that all relationships will not be the same. Ultimately, help me to realize that I am not these labels and identities and roles that the mind creates. I am this life. I am the expression of life itself. This one life expressing itself in so many different forms. And I am that life. In itself, this life is not incomplete in any way. It's complete, whole as it is. Only my identification with the mind and the roles and labels that create a feeling of completion, make me feel worthwhile only if I do something, achieve something. But I don't need to do something or achieve something. I am complete as life itself each moment. Help me to be connected with the absolute reality of my existence as life and yet acknowledge the relative reality of emotions, feelings, relationships, communication. I seek your guidance and grace to balance these two dimensions of my existence, the absolute and the relative. Om Shanti Shanti. Gently rub your palms and cup your eyes. Okay, so I hope the session was helpful, gave you
Yeah.
some clarity, insight. Mm,
Yeah. I mean, thanks. Thanks a lot. Gave me a
mm,
lot of clarity and perspective, and at least that feeling, that confusion is a little better now.
yeah, yeah,
There's
I
so
get
many
you.
feelings going inside,
Yeah,
so many thoughts, confusions. Where is
yeah.
it coming from?
I think that's the role of therapy, actually, in a way. One could say is it untangles the knots of the mind and all of that and helps you
Yeah,
to see things clearly. Okay, this is here, this is here, this is here, this is because
yeah,
of this is this. And then when you see it, then the mind is like, okay, I get it. But sometimes, yeah, and that's what therapy is all about, one could say.
yeah,
Except when you go to a psychologist, the psychologist only give you a relative perspective. They don't talk about the absolute perspective.
yeah. True.
Because no psychologist is going to say, you're not this yoga teacher, you're not this, you're not this, you're the absolute oneness. That only a spiritual teacher can say it.
Yeah.
Quite
And
often the
I mean, I
spiritual,
think
yeah,
that's
but
why
quite
I
often the quite often the spiritual teacher doesn't give you a relative perspective. I think that's also
yeah.
becomes missing, because then they say, no, yeah, emotions, feelings, or this. I think both are equally important. Yeah, you were saying something.
Yeah, that's why I can, relate to what you say more is because you give both the perspectives, and I always look for that spiritual perspective, more than anything else.
Yeah,
Because these feelings come and go, they're all always going to be. But then something that anchor is always that the spiritual side.
absolutely. So no matter, what I may be talking about, I may be talking about something to do with loneliness, or somebody will come up to me and talk about wanting love, or
Yeah,
somebody's conversation is about finding self-worth. Eventually, I will bring the conversation back to the fact that
yeah,
you will find love in the absolute awareness of your being. You will find
exactly.
self worth, so called completion, only in the absolute awareness of your being. There will be no loneliness in the absolute
Yeah,
awareness of your being. Eventually, that is the final. There is
exactly.
no other way. I can talk about so many other things. Yeah, fine. So if you want to be free of loneliness, then talk to maybe people or whatever. That's at the practical level. Or if you're
Yeah.
having these feelings, but eventually the final answer is your own true self, and that's what it
So,
is. Eventually, it comes back to that.
yeah, yeah, that's why, that anchoring helps because that's always been my grounding, you know.
Hmm.
That's something that
Yeah.
always I've always connected with. And in this whole bargain of life, keep forgetting it, and then there's someone to keep pulling you back there.
Yeah. True. And that's once you're connected with that being, that anchor, then you're on stable ground. Once you lose that
Yeah.
touch, then the
Yes.
mind, you're lost in the realm of
Exactly.
the
You're
mind
just
and all of
totally
that.
lost. And then for
Yeah.
me, that's so important to keep
And then
reminding
you keep
myself that.
looking for solutions in the mind, not realizing the problem is getting lost in the mind itself. So you
Yeah.
can't find solutions in an area which is the cause of the problem itself. Then you're trying to use the mind to try and find solutions.
Yeah.
That's not going to
I mean,
happen.
yeah, as you said, psychology gives you a very relative perspective,
Yeah, that's the way
but
it
there
is.
is something
Psychology,
higher than that.
true. Because psychologists also are identified with their own role as a psychologist. So
Yeah.
very few people have this insight of the pure being as awareness. And
Mm,
that's really how it is.
true.
Chalo, good. We had this
Nice.
conversation.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Okay. We'll meet again. Goodbye.
Yeah.
God
See
bless.
you.
Take care.